everybody, Borderlands UK, Matt and Ash here, just getting set up and ready to go. I feel like I have solved our streaming issues, and by solved, I mean I did nothing, and nothing seems to have gone wrong yet. So, fingers crossed for this show. How you doing, mate, after a day of sleeping on it?
See if I'm some working on it. I feel better. I know obviously we're at points, especially in that third quarter, I was getting close to the cliff again, but watching some of the clips I know Jeremy Rison's been putting out for the past half an hour and so, things were better than at least they seemed on first watch. Obviously, there's stuff that needs to be cleaned up, but for the most part, it wasn't as bad as I was fearing yesterday. So it happens. We've got the W. That's all that matters. Things will be cleaned up. We've got the Bears this week. So let's get a bit of revenge for letting them back into the game and just continue storming to this divisional title, because now I think it's 3-game lead we have on the Vikings. So if we win our next 2 and the Vikings win 1, we've clinched division, which is quite nice. So let's do that
now. Yeah, right. Just canvassing the other guys to see if we have anyone else joining us before we start. Happy Victory Monday to everyone who is celebrating, and by that I mean to everyone watching and listening. Many thanks to Mike the Marine, subscribing at Tier 1 for his 9th month in a row. Thank you very much, Mike. Says, howdy UK brothers, 9 and 3 is awesome and love the show. Thank you, Mike. Dan Pask says he's relieved. Mike also says Matt and Ash is the MASH show. I mean, there was a TV show over here called The MASH Report. We could be the MASH Report.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Brent DeWitt in the chat saying Happy Victory Monday again, Lions Pride. Also, Ken Stouder's in the building saying sup. Frank Ribble, Austin Damon too. Austin says, so there is a real difference between us and the Dolphins besides them being healthy. I don't know what you mean.
So he's asking, is there? So is there?
So is there?
Yes.
Yes.
They just, like, we have JMO. Imagine having 2 JMOs and then another 2-3 JMOs lining book in the backfield. They are loaded on that offense.
Dan McGinnis is in the chat as well, and Joshua Mercer. Come say hi, guys, if you haven't said hi already. Like Mike Laundry is saying, I really don't understand why people are complaining about the defense as much as they are. I'm going to address that on the show when we get into it, but I was talking to Ash just before we came on, basically saying I've been one of those people. So there we go. Mike says, I was in New Orleans as well, so I didn't watch on TV. There we go.
Oh.
Nice pull for that part of the travelling army. I love it. Joshua Messer saying, OMFG, I just got brought back to my childhood when my Grammy used to watch MASH and Walker, Texas Ranger as a kid.
Oh.
I've just seen that my friend has just said that TNT have done a deal with the Premier League to show 270 of the 380 games.
There's a new deal. I've seen the new deal. God, that's very 1931 of us.
Yeah, right. But does that mean they're mostly leaving Sky?
Sky's in it. I'm getting the BBC article for it now. The Premier League has agreed a new record of $6.7 billion pound domestic TV deal for Sky and TNT to show up to 270 live games this season. The deal also includes the BBC continuing to show highlights of match of the day. The Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff blackout will remain in place, but every 2 p.m. Sunday kickoff will be televised. That's a good one.
Interesting.
Sky has been awarded 4 of the 5 packages and will show a minimum of 215 matches a season, including Saturday 5:30 kickoffs, Sunday 2 p.m. and 4:30 kickoffs, plus evening games on Mondays and Fridays and 3 midweek rounds. TNT, so what we're using as BT, I guess, will show a minimum of 52 matches a season, including all 12:30 kickoffs on a Saturday and 2 midweek rounds. Sky Sports will also broadcast all 10 matches of the final day, and Amazon did not get any rights in the new agreement. So as of next season,
They won't have
Amazon would not have anything. Yeah,
It doesn't surprise me because they didn't gain traction because Amazon's TV service is absolute shit. But what I don't understand is their UI is terrible, but the graphics and the studio and the actual TV experience is amazing.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, it's so hard for me to watch what you're showing, but when I do, it's the best experience I have. And it's like, you watch Netflix, and it's like, the software works. Not quite as I want it to work, but it's pretty good. And then you go onto Amazon Prime, and it's like, why do I feel like I've been transported back into 1960? It's just so clunky. I just hate it. I hate it. Right. Doesn't look like we're going to have anyone else. So it's just going to be us, which means more talking time for us. So can't complain. Getting more, what did Farage say? He said, so on I'm a Celebrity, he said, I want to do the trials because that's 25% of the airtime. So 50% of the airtime each. Jerry G, the Saints fan, says, good day, good game Sunday, sucks my Saints loss. Thanks again for having TJ Jones on your show last week. It was our pleasure having TJ on the show, and thank you, Jerry, for coming to watch that with us. Appreciate it very, very much. But TJ is fantastic, and one of the greatest things about doing this show is talking to people like him and just getting to talk football. It's just fun.
You know, someone's a good guest where they can put up with my clunky way of phrasing questions.
Yeah. Yes, you do have a way with framing them.
Exactly. I'll try and work on this. As I can see, Ant's, of course, bringing up Navy Army Week in the chat.
Well, it's me versus Ant for the wooden spoon. I've taken Army, I think.
So he would have taken Navy.
Why will he have taken Navy? Because he's got emotional anti-army bias.
Except for he says, I think, and Ant will correct me in the chat, said this one. He said that Army's uniforms are the best this year.
Yeah, he did say Army's uniforms are the best this year. He still picked Navy. So
it's because the uniforms have no bearing on the game. Otherwise, we'll have probably won a few more games this season.
Go Army, beat Navy. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Right. Shall we get on with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Summary on. Recording on.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 237. JMO, the Man of Steel. My name is Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Feeling a lot better about the game after a bit of sleep and working on it. Well, I'll keep going to cover up that little mouth fumble from you there. It's almost as bad as the Derek Carr fumble yesterday.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, blame the left guard, whoever that was. That was
James
terrible.
Hurst.
There we go. We'll get into that in just a moment. This is, of course, the Lions at Saints review show. Just going to get into a bit of preamble first. There's no news today so far. Dan Campbell, at the time of recording, is going to be going to the podium in about an hour and 20 minutes. So we haven't found out about any of the injuries or anything else like that as yet. So we will update you with that as soon as we hear anything, if we hear anything during the record. But we always start by talking about our Discord community. It's a fantastic place to spend your game day, but also just be all the way through the week, and we'll talk all sports all the time and everything else in between, video games, gambling chat, all the sort of stuff in there. So if you want to join just a friendly group of people, link is in the chat right now. College Football Podcast is coming up later on this week. I know that Ant is working on that as we speak. And Ash, not to open up old wounds, but I'm going to call them old wounds, even though it only happened yesterday. But the team are going to have to break down the massive news that the College Football Playoff Committee have absolutely shafted a team that will go nameless.
They're going to, all the homies hate the College Football Playoff Committee right now. how do you keep an undefeated team out? Especially, and I learned this, they put a higher state in when they'd be playing their third string quarterbacks, where you're not letting a certain nameless team that I absolutely love not come in with their second string quarterback and one of the best defenses in the league. All the homies hate the College Football Playoff Committee. We're going to claim a national championship when we beat Georgia in the Orange Bowl.
Yes, I know that Liberty are absolutely furious to have missed out. So
yeah, exactly. And now they've lost their head coach because of it.
There we go. Right. Yes, so look out for Ant and Ryan on that later on in the week. It's going to be a doozy as we find out what all of the bowl games are going to be. And then we're going to be turning our attention to the NFL draft, as now, of course, we're basically all done for college sports for the year for football. Don't forget to like the show, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff, rate, review, anything you can do. It really helps us out. Don't forget as well to add Lions Nation Unite on their Facebook group. It's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. Facebook.com/groups/Lions Nation Unite. We're a Twitch affiliate, we're YouTube monetized, and there's a tip jar down below. So if you are enjoying what you're listening to and you want to show some appreciation in that form, that would be fantastic. It's just enough for you to be here listening to us, so that's all we need. And there's a feedback form down below as well. Click the link and you can let us know what you'd like to see in content coming up. You can make some, feedback, some suggestions, anything you want in there. Finally, we have got our merch store live. You can see the hoodie that I'm wearing right now, which I am biased, but I think it looks great. There is the cap that Ash is modelling right now. It's a great place to go for a Christmas present if you haven't done it already. And obviously, it is a way of tipping us, but you also get something in return for your support. Thank you very much. Right, Lions at Saints. And I'm going to go through the stats, Ash, and then come to you just for a bit of high-level takes before we go through the drive summary. And then we're going to summarise with a few game themes. We're going to give out some cigars and then briefly discuss some of Sunday's other games. And of course, if you are in the live chats, make sure to @ROTL_UK and get your questions in for the end of the show. Right. Stats, and Jared Goff for the Lions passing the ball. Only dropped back 25 times, completing 16 passes, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, in a relatively mistake-free day for him, which have been few and far between recently. Rushing the ball, they were led by Jahmyr Gibbs, who only had 8 carries on the day. He got 60 yards, no touchdowns for him, but he did get a long of 36 yards, which went all the way down to 2. David Montgomery did get on the stat sheet, 18 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. And Jameson Williams got a rushing touchdown for himself as well. 1 carry for 19 yards and a score. So that totals 30 carries for 142 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Receiving the ball was only one man ready to write home about, and his name was Sam Laporta. 9 receptions on 9 targets for 140 yards and a touchdown. A oddly down day by Amon-Ra St. Brown. 2 receptions on 6 targets for 49 yards, but he did get himself a score on a fabulous play early doors. Saints on offense, Derek Carr was rolling yesterday. 17 completions on 22 attempts, 226 yards, a touchdown and a pick. James Winston came in relief after Carr went down with injury. He went 2 of 5 for 41, no touchdowns, no picks. And Taysom Hill also had 2 throws, but no completions. Taysom did lead the team in rushing, 13 carries for 59 yards and a score. Alvin Kamara had 14 for 51 and 2 scores. The team did get over 100 yards, which marks, I think, the second time the Lions have conceded 100 yards on the ground this season. The Saints in the receiving game had Chris Olave to thank for a big day, 5 of 8 for 119. Alvin Kamara had 6 of 8 for 58, and A.T. Perry chipped in 1 of 3 for 30. Carr did have a fumble which was lost. It was collected by Josh Pascal, and then otherwise Raymond muffed a punt. And Ash, I do notice that ESPN have missed a fumble, because the very first play of the game was a botched handoff between Ragnow and Goff, which was recovered by Sam Laporta, who had himself a day. But of course, apparently the first play of the game doesn't exist. So, I know what it is. I know what it was. I think it was a false start, potentially, and so it wiped it out. That's what it was. Anyway, let's turn to the defense. Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes led the team in tackles with 9 apiece. There was 2 sacks, 1 by Romeo Okwara, 1 by Bruce Irvin. There were 5 other tackles for loss, 2 by Jack Campbell, 1 by Derek Barnes, 1 by Quinton Bohanna, 1 by Aidan Hutchinson. For New Orleans, they had 2 players with 8 tackles apiece in Paulson Adebo and Nefi Sewell, who had himself a day. They had 1 sack, that was by Zach Bourne, and 4 other tackles for a loss, 2 by Nefi Sewell, 1 by Cam Jordan, 1 by Tano Spapson. We'll call him that. We did have 1 pick. It came on the very first play on the game for the Saints on offense. Otherwise, Riley Patterson was perfect, 5 from 5. Blake Groupie for the Saints, 4 from 4. Those are your stats of the day. And Ash, what did you make overall of the game? Because the Lions got off to a hot start, and then I would say managed the game, but it got nervy towards the end.
Yeah, so you quite what it said. Got off to a hot start, came out of the blocks, pumping, 3 touchdowns in the first 7.5 minutes, roughly. Great to see. Then we tried to go into game management mode, put ourselves into second gear to try and trundle along, manage the game, run the ball. And I know we're going to get onto it later, so I won't go too deep into the issues I found with the run game, but the run game wasn't working. We kept putting ourselves in bad situations, started punting the ball away, and the defense could only hold on for so long. I know the Saints aren't the best red zone team in the world, but you give them some momentum. You don't properly defend Taysom Hill. You try and respect his arm when all he is basically a glorified fullback in a way who can throw. He can throw, but not very well. So what do? We try and defend the pass and just let him constantly take the ball on QB draws and stuff. But at the end, when we kind of needed to pull ourselves out of a hole, we did it. We won the game. That's all important. We've now won the NFC South. Not that would be hard. Let's now focus on winning the NFC North.
Yeah, it's one of those games that I think you do need to sleep on to get some perspective, because I think when we ended up winning the game, I was ecstatic that we won, but I was really disappointed in the manner that we did. We got off to a 21-0 start, and then we proceeded to lose the remainder of the game 28-12. And it's like, oh, wow, that doesn't sound great. They did manage the game somewhat, and they were conservative in their play calling, and I mean that with the greatest of respect, but it didn't work what they were doing on offense for a large portion of the middle part of the game. And instead of worrying about that too much, they didn't get outside of themselves to change much. They weren't as aggressive as I think they perhaps could have been. And then maybe they were spooked by what happened shortly after we went 21-0 up. So I will get onto that now. Let's talk about the drive summary. So the Lions' first drive, as I said, the very first play, Ragnar Goff, snap was fumbled. Sam Laporta got back on it. There was a false start involved there. And then the first play, which took some proper stones, is the 3rd and 7 call. I mean, 3rd play of the game, and we do what we do, which is just run the ball. It's not a draw or anything like that. We just run. And Monty just goes straight up the gut and converts. He gets himself 8 or 9 yards on 3rd and 7. It was we're better than you sort of move, and I absolutely am here for it. Play action pass into JMO, and roughing at the same time really helps. So that tacked on another 15. Gibbs then with one of the plays of the day. Fantastic blocking up front, giving him a lane, but he slipped a couple of tackles, beating specifically Alontae Taylor as well, and ran all the way to the 2 of the Saints for a 36-yard gain. And then Monty with some terrific blocking again up front, just walks in from that off-right tackle. PAT is good, and the Lions lead 7-0 early. And then the first play for the Saints, interception. And Carr has a fine throw. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what he did. It wasn't behind the player at all. Pretty much exactly where you want to put it. Had lots of time to throw. Juwan Johnson, who is blocking on the left-hand side of the formation, comes around to the right and kind of gives himself as a sort of a check-down option. Carr checks down to him. He pops up in the air. And Brian Branch, amazing coordination to get to the ball. He kind of picks up one-handed almost off the turf. It was very, very good. And that puts the Lions in position to score again. They start at the Saints 26, maybe? Ooh, can't remember now. I'll have to have a look. Because
It was the
17.
17, yeah.
The 17. So then, second drive for the Lions, starting in the red zone. And a lovely fake toss throw to Josh Reynolds. And by lovely fake toss, I mean the fake toss itself, not the throw to Reynolds, which actually missed him. But it is understated how good Goff is, not just at play action, because he's one of the best play action quarterbacks. We know this already. But how well he sells some of his fakes. And that fake toss he has down to a T. He's done it several times this season, and he really commits to it, and I think it does help a lot. But he missed that one. But then on 3rd and 6, Sam Laporta with a really nice sort of angle route. He motions from, I think, inline to the right and then curls back round into the left. 13-yard touchdown, on-time throw, untouched. PAT's good, 14-0 for the Lions. And then they force the Saints to punt the ball. A nice tackle for a loss by Hutchinson and Jack Campbell. A PBU by Jalen Reeves-Maybin, of all people, on Alvin Kamara. Carr then throws it to A.T. Perry, and a fantastic PBU by Cam Sutton. The Lions are all over the place here, all over the Saints. They end up punting to the Lions 46. And then we take back over. Goff to Sam Laporta over the middle on a zone beater, kind of comes up the middle and then runs all the way across the formation to the right-hand side. That goes for 29 yards. And then the very next play to Amon-Ra St. Brown in man coverage against a linebacker. Bourne has one shot to stop him. Doesn't get anywhere close on a slant. And it's a 25-yard touchdown. And Amon-Ra doesn't get touched again. And the Saints are all at sea. That's 21-0 after the PAT is good. And it's a good time to stop here, Ash, and get your thoughts on this, because we were only 6 minutes and 45 seconds into the game at this point, and the Lions are up 21-0 in absolute dreamland on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Like, admittedly, I didn't see that. I tuned in roughly with the interception because of the usual stream problems, thanks to Zone and my tablet. But great, just a great start, as you say. Even offense was humming. Okay, yeah. The missed throw to Reynolds. Everyone knows J-Mo was open underneath. The play kind of was designed to go to him, and Goff chose Reynolds instead, which is fine. Reynolds was also open. It was a deeper option. Just overthrew him a bit. Nothing too wrong there. But I know everyone, even I said when I said it, I was like, oh yeah, don't want a Monday morning quarterback it. Offense was just firing, and it put away a couple of the concerns everyone had the past couple of weeks where we were a bit slow. We weren't really getting that much in offense. We came out firing here, and the defense was doing its thing. Like Brian Branch, I know slightly different circumstances, and obviously ended pick 6, but pretty similar to his pick 6 against Mahomes to open the season. Really good play from him. The PBU by Germ. That's one of the reasons I was happy with re-signing him in the off-season, not because of the special team stuff, which he obviously did. Like at this point, he had 2 decent special teams tackles. Comes out and plays on defense as well. Shows that sort of athleticism he has on special teams translates into defense and being able to cover. Hutch and Jack firing on the TFL. Just everything was going so well. And obviously, at this point, I was joking, oh, yeah, we're going to do Miami Dolphins. We're going to put 80 down on them. That wasn't to be, as we'll come on to. But for starts, couldn't have asked for much more, really.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous passage of play. Like, the Saints ran 4 plays, I think, in this stretch. We ended up losing the time of possession as well, which lets you know how much it flicked around. But they looked all at sea when we were on offense. Like, it just looked like the scripted plays we have just matched their defense to a T. We had their number. The offensive line was getting such push up front. And I don't think I've ever seen our coverage be quite so good. Cam Sutton just was on A.T. Perry for that throw. Jalen Reeves-Maybin tracking Alvin Kamara like he knew that was going to be the play that came out of it. And I don't know, it kind of disappeared after half time, but the defense in this, especially this first passage play, was just excellent, and long may that continue. And it can be perhaps a training exercise, because I don't know what happened. Obviously, people talk about the Saints adjustments, but I didn't see any Saints adjustments. If I'm frank, I think it was just the energy level dipped pretty considerably, pretty quickly.
I think we did your least favorite thing for defenses to do in games. We went to a bit more soft zone, and it showed, as we'll come on to in a minute.
Yeah, right, let's crack on with the rest of this. We'll go all the way, not quite to the half, because there were so many possessions, but Saints' third possession, and the Lions keep rolling. Campbell and Hutch, they join at the hip in this first couple of possessions with another lovely TFL, joint TFL on Alvin Kamara. And then the Bruce Irvin sack. He comes off the right end, beating the left tackle. I said off right tackle when I was talking about Ramchek, but it wasn't. Irvin came off right end. And he speed rushed someone. Just absolutely incredible. And then the punt is muffed but recovered by Khalif. Then the Lions on their fourth possession. Play action check down for a loss to Monty. It was ill-advised. The check down wasn't there. He was almost being covered behind the line of scrimmage, and he threw it to him anyway. Another throw on second down was got to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And still on replay, I can't see whether it was on target and Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of fingered it so that Adebo couldn't pick it, or whether it just went straight to Adebo's hands. But he had a chance to pick it. And then on third down, Zach Bourne sacks Goff around Sewell. That's Sewell's first sack given up this season. And it's a lovely rep. I mean, if you think that you like James Houston, it's worth watching this rep again, because he just kind of bends around the corner, gets underneath Sewell's elbow, and it's a lovely, lovely rep. Punt then comes for the Lions, and a tackle by Jalen was made in. I mentioned that just because we will keep saying his name. Saints' fourth possession, and Hill starts to become a factor here. Beat one tackle and almost went all the way. Really big gain on the ground for him. Great tackle by John Kaminsky, who was playing left end on the rep, but he was chasing back and just caught him by the ankle. Without that, we could have been talking about a Taysom Hill 70-yard touchdown or something. Subsequent plays in this drive, nice run tackle by Josh Pascal, and then Carr misses A.T. Perry high, and they end up punting into the end zone from around midfield. Lions pick it up, and a golf quick throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown was broken up out of line by Carl Granderson. So this was just a quick swing pass, and that's the sort of thing where if you get that wrong, it's going to be a pick six all day, because he's the furthest person forward, and Granderson almost had it. So that's the second time Goff's almost picked in the next two drives following our three scores, and I think that might be the thing which spooked the Lions a little bit. Then Goff just missed Reynolds again, just out of reach on third down, and the punt was almost blocked. Flags on the return set them back after they actually had reasonable field position. End of the first quarter comes here. I'll stop here before we go all the way to the half in the third part of this first half. Ash, we scored 21 points, and the defense keeps performing here, but the offense just has some mishaps. Goff with a bad decision, throwing to Montgomery, trying to throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown, almost picked, missing Reynolds, kind of went off the boil a little bit.
Yeah, and you made a very good point there at the end, saying that might have been what spooks the offense to sort of go conservative, start running sort of game control, running the ball. But the Saints then predicted it, as we'll come on to. The Saints predicted it happening. They were already starting to stock the box a bit, sort of stop the runs, force us to go outside. Played into their hands a bit, unfortunately. But at the same time, the defense was still doing its thing. I know Taysom Hill had his nice run from Wildcat. Very good. But Kaminsky showing up. He's been kind of quiet the past couple of weeks. So it's nice to see him sort of making a nice play. And then Josh Pascal just coming to the fore. Like, he's had a few good weeks. And it's sort of the next step on that progression. He's becoming more and more of what I think the staff were hoping for when they drafted him in the second last year. He's starting to get there now, and that's really nice to see, because I was wasn't too high in. I don't want to say I'm too high in Pascal coming out. I liked the pick. Perhaps would have liked some players more, but I could see the thing, and I had faith in him, and it's starting to bear fruits now. And even then, yep, Carr just doing his thing, overthrowing A.T. Perry, again, someone coming out this year from Wake Forest. He got some targets, obviously with Olave being on a sort of pitch count in a way of his concussion and no one else being there to throw to. It's good coverage, but this was the sign, like, I think after that overthrow, Carr was pretty much on point for the rest of the day. So that sort of drive, those two drives there where Carr misses A.T. Perry and then Goff has the couple of bad plays. This is where the game sort of started to turn a bit. The worm started turning slightly. And as you'll see, as we're going to go on to, starts building upon itself and we start losing control of the game despite trying to go into game control.
Dan Pask says he thinks that the knee dislocation spooked some players, and I do think that might have played on some minds. I think that happened about this sort of time in the game. I'm trying to find out exactly when it happened.
It was, it wasn't this. It's the next play we're going to discuss with Tracy Walker.
Yeah, so it was a horrifying incident. It looked for all the world like a broken leg. It delayed the game by about 10 minutes or so when they were just trying to sort out the member of the chain gang. Thankfully, it wasn't a broken leg, but a dislocated knee is nothing to write home about. So, nothing to write home. Is some... you know what I mean?
It's not as bad. I know it wasn't as bad as a broken leg,
but this is serious.
Exactly, it's still serious. Exactly, like I've had enough of seeing nasty leg injuries over the past couple of weeks. Can we just stop it now in sports? Can I just have nice, healthy stuff for the rest of the season? Like, okay, we also did see that, as we'll get onto in a bit, Derek Carr get a concussion and a broken rib at the same time, because that's supposedly what's happened to him, according to Dennis Allen today. We'll get onto that in a bit because that's an ouchie. But yeah, just that was horrific to see. I know me and you were both feeling a bit ill seeing that.
I felt very sick.
Yeah. And thank you to Fox for doing the right thing and not showing replays of it. Unlike a certain other news network that showed another leg injury a couple of weeks ago, 7 times throughout the rest of the coverage.
Yeah, not fun. Anyway, we were speaking about that rep, and it was Alvin Kamara running for about a gain of 2 or 3 yards, and Tracy Walker just escorts him out of play. Doesn't push him into the man at all. He's just carrying his momentum and goes into a member of the chain gang. Huge hit by Jack Campbell on a Taysom Hill quarterback run for only 1 yard. And you can see that Taysom shook out his boot. So, I mean, it's a big hit by Jack. I'm absolutely here for it. And on a day where the Lions struggled to contain Taysom Hill, that was exactly the sort of play we needed. On 3rd and 11, false start play sets them back to 3rd and 16. But here's where the game started to change. Derek Carr scrambles and an amazing 29-yard throw to A.T. Perry. It was a cover 2 beater. You had Cam Sutton as the corner, Tracy Walker as the safety. And, I mean, the play had plenty of time to develop with Carr dancing around back there. But he eventually got to his spot. A.T. Perry, not the fastest man in the world, but very tall. And Carr with a delicious throw, stepping up in the pocket away from pressure. And that was just the start of something for them pretty much all the way through the game until he got injured, Derek Carr. Another good tackle by Jack Campbell on Hill for a 1-yard gain, and another Campbell tackle on Alvin Kamara. Carr with a lovely link up on 3rd and 9 to Chris Olave. It was his first reception versus Kirby in man coverage. Hard assignment for Kirby Joseph against Chris Olave. Another nice tackle on Alvin Kamara, this time by Liam McNeil, but then a 9-yard touchdown with Jimmy Graham, only his one of 2 snaps in the entire game. He shook Tracy Walker out of his boots, just a little outside one step and then up. And Walker bought that he was going in the flat, all ends up. It was a pitch and catch by Derek Carr to him. Jimmy Graham celebrating is just a scene I never want to see in the NFL ever again. Please and thank you. PAT is good. 21-7 Detroit. Lions then, of course, get the ball back, needing to perhaps put some more points on the board just to solidify their position, and a 3rd and 2 pass in the flat to Sam Laporta for a gain of 1. If you're going to call a short pass on 3rd and 2, at least throw it at the sticks, for God's sake. Punt, and a 4th special teams tackle by Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Saints then come back, and on 3rd and 3, Carr has a speed option to Alvin Kamara, so he comes out looking like he's going to run and then pitches it out And Jerry Jacobs got up quickly to slow down Kamara, and he was cleaned up by Derek Barnes about a yard short of the sticks. They end up punting. Lions then come out. Monty in the Wildcat doesn't work. He loses 1 yard. Goff then with a great set of completions to Sam Laporta over the middle on 2nd and 16 and 3rd and 6 for a first down over the middle of the field. Goff then with a fantastic throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown in a tight window for 24 yards. You can see the Mike almost getting there with a hand, the cornerback trailing just behind Amon-Ra about a yard, but Goff just fit it in there lovely. You can see those so often go for picks, especially when Goff's not been on it. And the fact that Goff feels like he's confident enough to make that throw after the last couple of weeks just shows you how resilient he is. End around to Khalif Raymond for 9 yards. I completely forgot that the Lions ran an end around before they ran a reverse, so that was delicious to watch the second time round. Goff then, on a rep, stays alive on 2nd down and goal and throws to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the end zone, goes incomplete. Amon-Ra St. Brown and the cornerback, who I think was Paulson Adebo, were both very much in each other's grill, really trying to physically hold each other off. It was either DPI and OPI all at once, or to let him play. Either way, Amon-Ra couldn't haul it in one-handed. Good throw by Goff. Only Amon-Ra could have a go at it given the position, although a weaker wide receiver might have given up a pick there. So fortunate that it was Amon-Ra he was throwing to. And then on 3rd down, Goff pressured again up the middle, and he missed both Amon-Ra St. Brown and DPJ. He did that awful Goff thing where he spins out of pressure, but he's got plenty of time to throw when he actually does spin out and doesn't have to throw it as urgently as he thought he did, and manages just to thread the needle in between both players, which is really unfortunate because that could have been easily a touchdown. As it is, 4th down, and the Lions take a chip shot 26-yard field goal to make it 24-7, and the Saints kneel down there. Ash, the Lions defense continues to do really good things, even on the Saints touchdown drive. They really made them work for it. There are some really big moments in there, especially Jack Campbell, but also we had Aleem McNeil with a good rep. We had, I think, someone else had a really good rep there, but I can't remember who it was now. But then otherwise, the Lions obviously had a really good possession to end the half, and they had plenty of time on the clock and managed to bleed it really, really well. I remember saying to you, there's no point in scoring a touchdown here only for the Saints to score another one back. I'd rather take 3 by killing the entirety of the clock. Yeah. We had the chance for the touchdown, but they did exactly what the doctor ordered by making it a 3-score game at the half.
Exactly, yeah. I appreciated the Monty Wildcat, considering about 12 hours early, 18 hours early, I was watching Wildcat plays being absolute offense for a team. And it does work when it gets going. Just look at Taysom Hill. And then the throws to Goff and to Sam Laporta. There were some good plays in there for us. But as you say, yeah, we scored. We did what we needed to on last drive, burned down the clock, got some points, made it 3-score game. But you could tell on our defensive side that the Saints are starting to wake up, especially obviously they scored on a drive. Jimmy Graham getting his legacy touchdown, I agree. If that's his last ever touchdown in the NFL, fair enough. But for Tracy to be beat like that, this is not 2015 Jimmy Graham we're talking about. It's 2023 Jimmy Graham. The dude's been in out or been retired already and to come out for the Saints. He shouldn't be beaten like that. It just kind of shows, as much as we love Walker, there's a reason why he wasn't the starter to open the season, why it was CJ, GJ, and Kirby. We love Tracy for his run defense and that. Sometimes he can get beat heavily in coverage, and that was just one of those times. That Kirby and man coverage and Olave, that's a mishmash in the favor of the Saints. Again, Kirby's having a bad couple of weeks. Kind of bounced back a tiny bit here today. I know he has that pass breakup. We'll probably discuss in a bit. It's just one of them. And then the big play, obviously, was the 3rd and 16 scramble for Carr and the throw to A.T. Perry. He just found the hole in the zone, sat there, and Carr put it up there. They were starting to wake up. And that was the scary thing, because we're like, okay, offense is starting to grind to a halt here. We need to keep grinding out the points, and we just couldn't. That was why going into the half, slowly but surely, we're getting back to that cliff edge again, where we were back into Bears situation, Packers situation, Ravens situation, where there were some worrying signs, and they were starting to blink at you now. So but at the same time, as you say, we did what we needed to do. Went in the half up. That's all we could really ask for, I guess.
And then coming into the third quarter, everyone knows it's not exactly the Lions' favourite time of the game ever. And the Saints have the ball to start the second half, and they come out firing. An amazing PBU by Kirby on Chris Olave. Did he get there early? Well, I'll tell you now, it wasn't a bang-bang play. Kirby definitely was there early, but it wasn't called. Thank you, refs. Josh Pascal then with a great tackle on Alvin Kamara. Taysom Hill with a good catch beating Brian Branch across the formation. In fact, Branch is on a bit of a hiding to nothing on this play because Taysom Hill comes from the left-hand side of the formation, cuts across to the right, not unlike the Sam Laporta play in the first half. And both coverage linebackers take the running back in the flat. It's a bit of a bust. And Branch, who is, maybe a optimistic 190, 195 pounds coming up against Taysom Hill, is not the best matchup you could ask for, and it shows in that rep as Branch tries to take him low, but it doesn't work. Nice tackle for also by Derek Barnes on Hill, and then on 3rd and 12, one of the plays of the game by Chris Olave. So he's running a corner route, and Derek Carr, it's a really poor throw, massively underthrown. Olave should potentially be walking in for a touchdown. As it is, Olave has to contort his body and just about picks it up, and he ends up sliding along the turf. Touchdown by Jerry Jacobs at the 2-yard line. His body control was unreal. Alvin Kamara ends up finishing off for a touchdown. PAT's good, and suddenly it's a 24-14 ball game, and it's made more difficult when the Lions go 3 and out in the next possession. Saints come back on their 8th drive, and Carr with a play-action pass to Olave for 30 yards to start this drive. Then a play-action pass to Foster Moreau. It's a naked bootleg. We always seem to bite on this play. And I mean, I know that we did it with Goff a few times earlier on in the year, and we get teams to bite on it too. So it's not like we haven't seen it before on the other side. But when the shoe's on the other foot, it's hard to swallow, I have to say. And the check down to Moreau, I mean, on the run, and he gets himself 20 or so yards as well. And then Kamara somehow slips through, stumbling for 9 yards. Like, Kamara, for all the world, looks like he's down after a yard and manages to just keep his knees off the turf and keep going and gets himself 8 or 9. Taysom Hill and quarterback draw touchdown from the half-yard line. PAT's good. And suddenly, after all of that, it's 24-21 Detroit. Lions in desperate need of some points. And they get some play-action boot to Brock Wright for 8 yards. Play-action throw to Sam Laporta. Blown coverage by the Saints for 48 yards down the right-hand sideline. Fantastic play by the Lions. And then the play calling just went conservative from the 14-yard line. They didn't look like they were going to make any sort of progress at all. On 3rd and 6, they ran it, got 2, 4th and 4, tried to draw them offside. Contentious as to whether it would have given you a first down or not, because it was at the 8 needing 4. It would have been a matter of inches either way. Either way, they didn't get drawn offside, so you take the delay of game. A 32-yard field goal is good. Lions go up by 6 at the end of the 3rd. Ash, they call it the 3rd quarter. Dan Pask asks, why do you think we keep having 3rd quarters? Well, the Saints won this quarter 14-3. We did score, albeit right at the end of the quarter, but we went 3 and out. Otherwise, we only had that other possession where we got a field goal. So we only had 2 drives on offense. But on defense, there were some good plays in there. There was Pascal with a tackle on Alvin Kamara. Kirby, is it a good play or not on Olave? Not sure. But no matter what we did in the sort of little good individual plays we had, we couldn't sustain 3 good plays all in a row to force a punt. And at the end of the day, Derek Carr, even when the throw to Olave is bad, he gets bailed out by some spectacularly good receiver play.
Exactly, yeah. It was... They had a really good... That drive coming out the half was just really good. Like, I know, obviously, we had the really good Kirby PBU, but that's because he got beat, and he got there early. That's the only reason he could do it. He got beat deep, and that's worrying. Of course, Pascal, another great tackle, but it's just... There were little things coming out the half. We weren't fully out the half, I think. It just allowed the Saints to slowly but surely drag themselves back into it. Then we give the 3 and out. I don't know what it is about the play calling coming out the half. You'd think because we scripted such a good opening script for the first half, we'd be able to come up with such a good, a similarly good script for the second half. I'm not calling for another 21 points all in one go, but just some plays that can actually get yardage, 3 and out, momentum killer, especially since then they come out, get some good plays again, and suddenly it's a 1-score game. And then obviously, we get some points in, but it's still a 1-score game. At that point, we need the offense to wake back up. And as you say, they get close. They turned into the Saints who just went very conservative and we kicked field goals. It was almost as if when we got that 21 points, we suddenly switched this. It was like some Space Jam thing where they suddenly got the essence of us because they were scoring touchdowns and we were just kicking field goals in the red zone. We became the Saints of this past season. We had obviously TJ saying about the identity. They just didn't know what to do in the red zone before yesterday. Suddenly they could score at will in the red zone and we were kicking field goals. It was not good to see. And we really did need a wake-up call on the offense because the defense was doing the best it could, but the offense was just going back to where they were just putting the defense straight back out. They didn't get a chance to breathe. So
yeah, I mean, just to list out the plays that happened after that massive Sam Laporta play for 48 yards. So you start at the New Orleans 14 at 1st and 10. David Montgomery, right guard for 1 yard. Jahmyr Gibbs, right end, push out of bounds for 4 yards. 3rd and 5. David Montgomery, right guard for 1 yard. 4th and 4, delay of game, field goal. I mean, it's a condensed area of the field. You've lost Frank Ragnow, updated for the game after 1st down and 10 here, but he was already not in. You had Colby Sorsdal in there, and I recognise that you said he's a better run blocker than he is pass blocker, and maybe that's why they were doing this, I don't know. But you've got a run game that's been completely shut down. Well, I guess at this point it's the second drive of the second half for us, but the run game has not worked massively well. The pass game seems to be fine, and they go run in the red zone. Why?
Exactly, and it's to go even further too deep into it. Right guard. We were running it between the tackles when the Saints were putting 8 men in the box. I know, we had the Jahmyr Gibbs right end pushed out bounce, but I think he bounced out inside himself. We just kept trying to call inside run stuff, and it just wasn't working. One of the things we need to do is, I know it's kind of stealing from one of the points I was going to say later in sort of the themes of the game. Why will we keep running it inside when you can see the box is packed? Don't we have any, or even Goff, don't we have any plays where you can audible to an outside zone like you did with the 75-yard Montgomery touchdown? You can see, you should be able to. It's one of the first things a quarterback or an offensive lineman who's looking at the protection should do. You should count the hats in the box. If you have ace or that in there, don't run it inside because, yes, you've got a good offensive line. Sorsdal's a good run blocker, getting there in pass protection. Don't put yourselves in that situation. Call outside stuff where you can use the great blocking tight ends and wide receivers we have to do stuff. Or call passes that go outside. Use those one-on-ones you're now suddenly getting on the outside and use it to your advantage. We just didn't. That's not what we want to see from an offense that's supposed to be, by reputation and by Ben Johnson's reputation, a top 5-10 offense in the league, to suddenly just go inside run, run, pass, run, pass. We went back to the old ways that Baron Bevel, Jim Bob Cooter days, and thought we left us way in the past. We're supposed to be this new offense that can do a load of things. We just didn't, until obviously later the certain play that we'll get onto in a sec.
Yeah, in just a second. So the Lions have scored that field goal. It's 27-21. It's the end of the third quarter, but it feels inevitable given what's happened to start this second half. The Saints are going to go down, score a touchdown, kick the extra point, and be a point ahead. First play of the next Saints drive is a botched snap recover by Josh Paschal. The left guard is pulling to block on the right-hand side, so he gets a big swing of the arm away so he can get off his block pretty quick to try and get outside. The big swing of the arm punches the ball out. It's really funny if you guys want to laugh. Not for Derek Carr, but never mind. So the Lions do great to get on it. I think there were 3 or 4 of them actually around it first before a Saints guy got there. But It only took the Lions 2 plays from there to get a touchdown. And it really flips the script and the way things work for the rest of the game, I think. So Gibbs runs off right tackle to the New Orleans 19, breaking a tackle to do so. So 2nd down and 3. And having done the end around, they call an end around the other way to Raymond, who then pitches it to Jameson Williams on the reverse. And the blocking's fantastic, but Saul doesn't even get there. JMO's running so fast, and he ends up Superman diving into the end zone. I will say I don't want to see that too often, just because I've seen so many people land on their head, which he did. He landed on his head, get concussed through that, and we can't afford to not have Jameson Williams on the field. Regardless, Lions score a touchdown, and up 12, they decide to go for 2 to make it a 14-point game. Ended up being no good. It was well covered. He ended up trying to throw to Amber Russell Brown in the corner of the end zone. No chance, really, for that one, but never mind. Saints' 10th drive, and they need desperately to score points in a hurry now. And a sack by Romeo Okwara, and I will never tire of saying that as long as he's a member of the team, leapt into the air while Carr was trying to get rid of the ball to prevent the pass. So Carr had to hold it as he was advancing, and he managed to get him just here, just above the nameplate, and ended up going, nope, not there, and transitioned down. So he avoided actually having some sort of horse collery, unnecessary roughness, or roughing the passer sort of penalty. It was an intelligent play by an intelligent football player. So we got the sack. We set them back on 3rd and 16, I think it is. Carr then driven into the turf by Bruce Irvin. We'll get onto this in just a minute. It's a beautiful rep by Bruce Irvin to beat his man that side again, but he ends up picking Carr up, driving him into the turf. It is called, of course, roughing the passer, to dismay of some of the people who are watching the game along with us. We'll get onto it in a minute. The Saints themselves then bring on, I was going to say Taysom Hill. They did for the next rep, but then it was Jameis Winston, or if you were watching the show, Jameson Winston.
POD casted it as well. I was listening to it as I'm walking home, and I can hear them doing it. I'm like, I've infiltrated.
I love it. So they ran an end around of their own to Bowden, but it went for a huge loss. It was diagnosed very easily by the Lions in the backfield. I think it might have been, I can't remember who did the tackle in the end. Was it Quinton Bohanna? It was. Why can't I remember?
I'll get there before you when I'm having to open it up on a.
It was Quinton Bohanna. So a loss of 10 yards on 2nd down and 3, and that really killed the drive for them. Or it should have done, but it didn't, because Jameis Winston throws a poor ball. It's going straight to Jerry Jacobs' hands. Could be a pick 6. A fantastic play by Brian Branch, who doesn't know that Jerry Jacobs is in perfect position to make the pick. He gets a diving tip on the ball, and it goes straight into Chris Olave's hands. Of course, the Chris Olave that Jerry Jacobs was man-marking, who he then ended up leaving to go and make the pick. So, of course, Olave manages to catch it and gets himself all the way down to the 2. So we set them back with a huge tackle for a loss. Jameis throws a poor ball. We should be going further ahead, and instead, Alvin Kamara runs in from that distance for a touchdown. PAT is good, and suddenly it's a 5-point ball game again. Lions on offense then end up going 3 and out. And this is disaster territory now. 7 minutes to go, and the Lions are less than a whole score ahead, so we could be losing this now. And this ended with a couple of plays I really hated. Goff with a play-action running back screen for a loss of 6. I think that was to Jahmyr Gibbs. And you can see that Gibbs has a man basically in his face ready for that play, and he gets blasted as soon as he catches the ball. It was one of a few times where we've tried to run similar sorts of plays, whether they be swing passes, play action, running back dump offs, all that sort of stuff. None of it worked, and we know we're good at defending this stuff. Well, why are we good at defending this stuff? Why are the Saints good at defending it? Because they all come and they prioritize similar things. So It didn't work. And then on 3rd down and 10, I think it is, Goff scrambles upfield, escaping pressure, throws on the run to David Montgomery, and it's a wobbly ball, but Monty drops it at the sticks, and I mean, you should not be dropping anything like that. It was an absolute dolly, and he put it down. So the Lions end up punting, and the Saints have an opportunity to win the game here. And they start off with 2 great plays. Kamara up in the middle for 11, we just about haul him down, and then down the right-hand sideline for 17-yard gain. And then good tackling on a quarterback draw for Taysom Hill. And then Winston misses Olave right in the centre of the field. He's all on his own. And it's just a bad throw. That was at the Detroit 40 if he'd caught that ball. So it would have really put the pressure on the Lions at that point. Winston then misses Alvin Kamara versus Tracy Walker in coverage. Tracy is there putting pressure on, but he's not actually touching Kamara at all. He's not competing. It's just a poor throw and a drop. And then on 4th and 6, Winston, under pressure, misses Olave again for a turnover on downs. 2:56 left in the game then. The Lions are 5 points up. Can they kill the game? Yes, they can. Play action pass. Nice PBU by Paulson Adebo on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Questionable as to whether they should be throwing it there, but their faith in the passing game paid off. Firstly, a 3rd and 8 pass to Sam Laporta for 10 yards in tight coverage. They then cycle through 1st and 2nd downs with the Saints burning timeouts on 3rd and 9. You convert for a 1st down, you can nil things out at this point. And a play action pass. And on 3rd and 9, in this situation, a lot of teams will be running the ball. So even though it looks like an obvious passing situation any other time in the game, here it's not quite obviously run, but it's definitely, it's almost an expectation you might run there to burn the final timeout. It would have left about 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock for the Saints. But we went play action pass, and Goff was under big pressure on this rep. Had a step up in the pocket again, not unlike the one that Monty just dropped. But instead of opening up his body and throwing to the right, he kind of Superman dives himself forwards and kind of pitches the ball ahead to Sam Laporta, who picked it up almost off his toenail. Not Sam Laporta, to Josh Reynolds, sorry. Almost off his toenails. Fantastic catch. Gets beyond the sticks. I think he calls it about a yard shy. Gets over. Then the Lions can take kneel downs. That's the ball game. Ash, this period of play in the 4th quarter was really interesting because the Saints were continuing to drive and everything changed because of the Bruce Irvin play on Derek Carr. Following that, obviously, well, before that, you had the JMO touchdown. After that, you had Taysom being defended well, and you had Jameis Winston missing throws. But when the push came to shove, Lions offense got it done and killed the game.
Yeah, so great. This is one of the examples of when I keep saying about some of the stuff in the first half, setting up for later. As you said, that end around to Khalif earlier that got 9 yards, set up the JMO play. You just build stuff off it, and it worked to perfection. And I know Ant's put it in the Discord earlier about how far could you think you could run between JMO getting the ball and scoring, and I'm like 5-10 yards. Like, that dude is quick, like 4.2 speed, and it showed on that play. 20.8 miles per hour. He's the only player to average like over 20 miles per hour on at least 25% of his touches since like 2018 with a minimum of 10 touches. That's mad. Like, this dude had speed. He's finally works out the intricacies of maybe making it hard for him early in the season. It's time to start integrating him more into the game plan, in my opinion. As much as we love Khalif, start giving JMO a few more of those kind of Khalif routes and that. A few more of these end arounds, just design touches just to get the ball in his hands and see what he can do. And then on defense, definitely say, Romeo, great play by him. I know, obviously, you're the president of his fan club. You're the only person in existence to own a Romeo Okara jersey. Great for you. And then Bruce Irvin just decides, you know what? I know I'm not much long for this league. I'm 36. I'm a practice squatter getting elevated. I'm not much for this league. It's time for me to follow the Rob Gronkowski career path. I'm going to put my audition tape out there for the WWE and just body slams Derek Carr. So much so that Derek Carr gets a concussion, a broken rib, and an ankle injury all on the same play. That's like he's playing like people might remember it, backbreaker football. which is sort of like a version of Madden, except for the whole point on defense in that is you're supposed to go and like break as many of the opponent's bones as you can. He decided he was playing that instead of Madden. Funny at the time. Obviously, don't wish to or wish Carl well. It's his second concussion in a month. Hopefully, he can get over it because he was seemingly really turned a corner in this game. Hope he can get back to it just for the Saints fans' health because they've got a lot of money invested in him, and if he doesn't come back right, they're fucked. But we still, after that, we have this bit of a setback. Tackle Floss and Bowden end around. Really done play for them. Then they get a stroke of luck with the tip. I'm sure Jerry doesn't hold anything against Brian. Just him trying to make a play. It happens. And then the play calling again. Like, I don't know. Like, screens work if you do them occasionally. If you keep doing them, teams going to sniff them out. And that's what happened to us. Like, Nephew Saul just knew it was happening. He was there already. Just tackled Gibbs. Like, it was. But as you say, we're obviously at this point, I'm in dire straits. I'm like, oh, here they come. We're going to get last minute score. We're not going to have enough time on the board to score. And then Jameis does Jameis thing. As much as I love him as a college quarterback and what he did for my team in the pros, he hasn't been as good. And he just did what his things. He just froze before the players open. Like, to the point of not even anticipatory. He's just like, oh, I think you're going to be open. I'm going to throw it at you. Alave and both the misses wasn't even like finishing his route yet, wasn't fully open. Winston still threw it. And that's what cost them. Like, he is a high volatility backup. We have probably the best kind of backup with Teddy, where you know what you're getting from him. He might not have the explosive games that Winston can give you, but at the same time, he's not going to do dumb shit. Winston did dumb shit. All they needed him to do was stay in the pocket, settle a bit, hit receivers when they're open. He decided to try and do a bit of hero ball, and it failed for him. And as you say, yeah, the conversion, I know you were saying, oh, you don't want us to throw it. I was like, as soon as we went to that 3rd and 9, I was like, we're going to throw it here. I've seen it before. And over the past year or so, we've gone from being a team that kind of missed those to now being able to convert them, because almost a year ago, pretty much, with like an added week, there was that situation with the Bills where we needed a 3rd down conversion to get in field goal range to potentially ice the game. Goff throws it to DJ Chark. It misses. The Bills then be able to drive down, get the winning score. Went from that to now being able to always convert on these sort of big pressure, 3rd and long situations, conversions to end games. We get them now. Sign of the growth that we've had in a year, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very high leverage play. And I think my want there for us to run the ball on 3rd and 9 is predicated on down and distance. So if it's 3rd and 4, if it's 3rd and 3, I just kind of think your chance of converting there, I'm going to say, on an average team is probably 50% or greater. But getting out to 3rd and 9, you're kind of looking at maybe on an average team, 20, 25%. Just playing the percentages, on 100% of reps, I definitely keep the clock moving and I might get the 1st down, but let's put that down at 10% for a run. But then 10% more of the time, I end the game. But if I don't do that, you've got 40 more seconds to win the game. I kind of just playing the percentages feel maybe the better decision is to run the ball. But the Lions are not the average high leverage team. And like you say, we're so good at when the pressure is on, picking a play that we know that they can execute and convert. And in Josh Reynolds and Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporte, you've got 3 of the premier kind of short possession receivers. Yeah, exactly. So it is a smart decision, I think. My thinking often is just sort of in a vacuum, but we're not playing in a vacuum. So I think it was a really good decision in the end. Just on the Bruce Irvin play, it completely changed the game. I do feel like, not necessarily that we end up losing the game if Derek Carr stays in the game, because if that stood as a sack, they would have been punting, and then we get the ball and maybe we do better on offense in that situation, and they don't score a touchdown, and so it's still a 12-point game. But I do think that Winston being in there really made it easier for us. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say one way or the other. What is true and what isn't true about that rep is it isn't true, unlike what the commentator said on the game, that Bruce Irvin was trying to not put his body weight on the quarterback. There was no attempt by Bruce Irvin to get away from that play. He absolutely planted him. It was a horrifying rep. It wasn't just bad, it was teaching tape level worthy play for what not to do in the NFL. It caused risk of serious injury. It did cause potentially serious injury. And you just don't want to see it. As a fan of the Lions and having won this game and the fact that it might contribute to the win, part of my head is almost like the ends justify the means, and I feel really horrible thinking that. And then the other way that I think of me as a neutral is that needs to be stamped out of the game. Like, sometimes the weight on the quarterback when you kind of fall on top of them, but it's a kind of soft landing, sort of, I've got nowhere else to go. It's all gravy, like that shouldn't be called. But this was driving pressure through weight, through the midriff of the quarterback. It was rough. But there we go. Anyway, I thought the Lions did terrifically in that last set of plays. It was really, really good. I'm just going to take a moment to shout out a listener who has messaged us on Twitter, and it's Callum from Yorkshire who has just DM'd us saying, I'm a huge Lions fan from Yorkshire. It's great to see that the Lions are well supported in the UK, and it's also good to see how well you support the Lions. I love all your content. Love listening to the pod from Skipton in North York, or near North Yorkshire. And me and my dad follow the games every weekend. And if you do want to get in touch with us and just say hello or whatever, then Ant normally running the Twitter, but anyone else, we're always happy to just chat. We're really friendly people, and maybe get a shout as well. But I'm sure American fans will be continually astounded by how good the support for the Lions is in the UK. Hence why we are here. Right, some game themes, Ash, and the first one I have is the Lions struggling with Taysom Hill quarterback runs. Now, we identified it, much like every team has bloody identified it, as an issue. And the Lions couldn't contain him for the most part. There are a few good reps in there, getting him down for a gain of 1 yard. Jack Campbell especially had a good day against him. But for the most part, we struggled, much like every team does. But considering he threw it twice, but ran it 15 times, surely you know what's coming, and surely you should do better.
You should, and I agree. We did a relatively good job, but yeah, because he's got that added element of being able to throw, you still have to respect that, and that's what kind of caused this. You always had, I think it was usually Barnes, sort of a bit further back, and that's what killed you because he has to make up like sort of ground in a way to get to where Hill's going, and it just killed us. So they could just keep doing it, and this might, I know, with who we're facing this week, it might cause a few ruffles, a few feathers if we lose. If the Bears get a quarterback, that is the kind of role the Taysom Hill role is what Justin Fields could turn into for a team like San Francisco. I know they're trying to do it with Trey Lance, or even, and it'd be funny in one way, but at the same time not. Imagine us having a Taysom Hill package of Justin Fields. That would be electric because, as Hill shows, there's a reason why, okay, sometimes he might only get like 4 or 5 points in fantasy kind of thing. But once every couple of games, he just has that game where he's able to throw for like run in a touchdown, throw for a touchdown, get about 60 yards on the ground, 60-yard passing. Is that kind of player. It's just it's only the Saints that seem to run these kind of things consistently, and it hasn't been found out because it's just that obvious. Like, you shut down the run, he can then just keep throwing to the tight ends. Like John Johnson, I know he dropped a couple. I don't know. Maybe it's also just a symptom of our defense. We just can't seem to handle Russian QBs. And I know that's a schematic problem across the league. Only really elite defenses can, etc., etc. I can hear Jeremy roasting me for my question about this a couple of weeks ago in my ears right now. We just need to be better because everyone knew what was coming, and yet we still couldn't stop it at points. That's just not good enough at this point.
All right. Lions struggling with the run since the second quarter for Ragnow being out didn't help. Ash, you've kind of alluded to the Lions' struggles running the ball, especially between the tackles. I'm just having a look at PFF now to kind of get some information on this, and David Montgomery went for 3.1 yards a carry, which kind of tells you that trouble. But the Lions generally had problems running the ball looking at as a whole. They were efficient in that first quarter, but since then it was tough. They went 2.6 yards per carry after contact, which is well down on what you would expect. They only forced 5 missed tackles the entire game running the ball, and they were 4.7 yards per attempt. Sounds good, but one of them was to 37 and one of them was to 13. That's 50 of your 142 yards. Take them out. You're at 3 yards a carry. The Lions ran the ball 4 times off right tackle. The majority of players were on the right-hand side of the line. And they just couldn't get anything going at all, including, getting conservative in the red zone and stuff. But when things aren't going their way, they don't find a way to do it on the ground, and it puts big pressure on the passing game to succeed.
Exactly, yeah. Like, Ragnar going down, obviously, is a big thing because he's such a good run blocker, control, and he does call out protections as well, so maybe that had an impact in terms of the hat count. But at the same time, number one, you should be able to see that the stack in the box and pivot, not only as a play caller, but a QB on the field, audible out of it, go for some outside zone, outside stuff. But number two, you're at this point, your right-hand side is going to be severely weakened to what it should be. You're losing rank, and now you've got Glasgow technically out of position, and you've got a rookie in there. Like, call some plays that go to the left-hand side. I know Decker's not the run blocker that Saul is, but surely the combination of Decker and Jonah as a whole is better in terms of your run stuff than running it between behind Swordsman and Saul. Like, and I know there was one play as well where we had Saul come from the right tackle towards the left to block because they're stuck in the box. All the linebackers could see that and just stop flowing that way. So unless you're doing that as a distraction, so everyone can counter off it and go with Gibbs to the other side, it's going to get blown up like it did. Like, and then just some of the play calls as well. Like, I know the one we were saying where we've got conservative red zone, a draw to Montgomery on 3rd and 7. Everyone knows we do that now. The reason it worked so well 2 years ago when we're doing it with Swift is, number one, Monty is elusive, but he's not Swift fast. Like, Swift's slightly faster, a bit more elusive. Number two, because it's a dumb decision, we rarely did it. Teams were caught off guard by it. At this point now, where they've got 2.5/3 years of tape on it, they know it's one of the things we like to do on 3rd and longs to catch teams off guard. They're just going to play for it.
And at the end of the day, we've kind of set it up so that even on 3rd and long, play action is viable for us, because for most teams, 3rd and 7 is like, play action is going to be eaten up. No one's going to buy that you're running the ball. No, they will for us. One of the things they'll ID with us is that running on 3rd and long is something we like to do. So play action pass should be on the table, and we don't do that yet. And maybe we're leaving it on the table for some time in about a month. But I don't know. It just feels like it's a missing part of the puzzle sometimes. 3rd down, we never really seem to go play action very much. And I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither. Well, obviously we did it when it counted at the end of the game, but on the 3rd and 9. But even then, that's not. Imagine like you sort of got even like a 3rd and 4. Once you've got a 3rd and 4, everyone expects us to go up the middle with Montgomery. So what do? Do you play action where you have the sort of big set, you have Wright and Laporta there, and you do a play action pass where Wright just runs a crossing route along the sticks across the formation, and then you have Laporta running like a corner that sort of goes out in 10 yards. Teams will be caught off guard that you've got 2 easy throws for Goff, and then let's say you've got someone in as a fullback. He's an easy check down in case there's pressure, and maybe you can get some open space and do some stuff. such an easy play that's literally copied from Madden. I think it's one of the goal line packages in Madden. You can do that. It's an existing play. Start doing some of that stuff, even on the third, as you say, third and longs. It's obviously there, third and short as well, because you say teams expect us to run on third down because that's our identity. Start to sort of play off type to use teams betting on that run against them, and we just don't right now.
All right. McNeil injury, a cause of concern, and I mean, he got injured, looked like he was really struggling at some point, kind of hobbled off the field, returned for a significant part of the game, but looked like he was in trouble. We were rotating him out a bit earlier than we would expect, especially on pass rushing downs. We were taking him out, whereas he seemed to feature before that. Anything that required him getting up the field, we didn't have him in there for. He was there as maybe the best run tackler we have on the team in the centre of the field, Ash, but I have to think that because we had so many DTs inactive, we were forced to play him in that situation where in a perfect world we'd have shut him down saying, you're more important to us for the rest of the season. But unfortunately, because of what we've done roster-wise, we're forcing him to play, and it risks further injury. I don't know what his status is. We are waiting for Dan Campbell to hit the podium in about 15 minutes' time now, but it made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, same. Like, you've stole pretty much my words out of the mouth with the whole inactives thing. Having 3 true interior defensive linemen, let's say, because obviously I know Kamish, Pascal, Romeo, Hutch to an extent could all play inside if we need them to. Only having Aleem, Benito Jones, and Quinton Bohanna, who's a practice squad call-up, active, isn't good for what we know is a high intensity, high impact in terms of on the body position. Don't know what's going on with Gibbs, not Gibbs, Bugs. Say my fucking name's God's sake, Bugs. Don't know what's going on there, but we need to sort it out ASAP, because if we're not going to play him because of something, we need to cut bait at this point, because Aleem's injured. We need someone, even if it's someone you sign off free agency or practice squad, just another body there, because you can't just have dead weight on this roster now. That's why, obviously, I know he played a bit in this game, but if and when CJG comes back, it's someone like a Bugs or Naraski that's going, because we need, at this point now, going into playoffs, we need a regular 50. Well, 53. We need a 53. We know if push comes to the shove, can play meaningful snaps for us in a game. We can't be taking Deadwood with us now on the roster. Now we're getting towards the heaviest part of the season, because let's say Aleem is out for a couple of weeks. Can we trust a Quinton Bohanna to play 80% of snaps? Can we trust Benito? Can we trust Broderick? Can we trust Levi? No, we need someone in there, even if it's low-level vet who takes about what signs like a 1 year, $800,000 contract. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but at least he's started somewhere and he can offer you something in the middle. We need to do that now, because we just do. Like, we're getting injured. Aleem's injured. Don't know what's happened with Bugs with his injury. Levi, what's going on there? Broderick, I know they're having to season him, and he's not ready yet. We might need to start throwing him. So I know it's one of the questions we're going to come to a bit with Sawsdale, but we might need to start putting Broderick into the fire and just say, okay, I know you're going to make mistakes here, but this might be good for you in the future, and we just need you to play. We need you to get these game reps now, because we don't have that much more on the defensive line right now. And obviously we traded for him, so there's got to be something there for us to like. It's time to start maybe see what we're getting there, because we can't just keep playing Aleem on a majority of snaps, because this is what happens. You get injuries because you're just playing that amount of snaps.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, so Quinton Bohanna's now out of elevations, so it seems like signing him is a no-brainer. He's played well enough to do it. If we cut Isaiah Bugs, we lose $400,000 of cap. That is what it costs us to cut him. And at this point in time, it seems worth it. We'll have $2.5 million left in cap space. We can sign Bohanna to a vet min deal, which isn't $850,000 because it's prorated. We're 12 games out of 17 way through the season. It'll be a deal for about 250 grand. But that's fine. Just do that. Like, no problem at this point. The issue is that isn't really enough. And actually, defensive tackle is one of those places where you can find someone passable in free agency at this time. So keep scouring the market, see what you can do. There's some money you can move around if you want to do it. Find someone that you're happy with. Something needs to happen so that if this happens again to McNeil, or if McNeil is, God forbid, out for the next game, which, I wouldn't be surprised given what happened to him in the game.
Like a low ankle sprain.
Yeah, we're in big trouble come next week against Chicago and a team that run the ball pretty damn hard. We need everyone like Aline we can get our hands on. So, this isn't really a game theme, but it's just something I want to touch on. And it seems like a lot of people have identified this, but for me, I don't think it was terrifically obvious, especially looking at the stat line. Goff, 16 completions for 200 odd yards and 2 touchdowns doesn't seem remarkable. But Ash, given Saul still being on the line, not having his best day again, giving up pressures, the line not protecting him pretty well. He was under pressure a lot. He made a few bad decisions, almost got picks a couple of times, but they weren't egregiously bad throws. Couple of bad decisions in terms of checking down into places that were kind of covered. But on the whole, he stepped out of pressure really well. He bought himself some time. He delivered some fantastic completions in the game. It was an understated, low-key, excellent game by a quarterback who has been much maligned over the past 2 games. You've gone from 3 games ago, pretty much everyone at least reluctantly saying, yeah, he's probably got an extension, to, so when's Hooker coming back? And he needed a good day, maybe just so the fans would get off his back. And that's why I say low-key, because I don't think it's been good enough to get off his back yet. But it was a big step in the right direction.
Exactly, and it's actually one of the clips I've got planned to post tomorrow on our TikTok, is the one from last week's review show where we discuss about Goff getting rattled by that pressure. Because in the past 2 games, obviously against the Bears and Packers, 6 turnovers in 2 games from Goff specifically. That wasn't good enough. The fact that I know obviously he made a couple of bad decisions and he did have some turnover over plays. The fact he didn't turn over the ball, I was still, for the most part, able to keep the offense going. That's all I needed from Goff this game, really. Just that step back into the right direction. That hopefully, now we've faced this bad defense once, we see what they're kind of about. Hopefully, be able to make some adjustments in the game plan. Next week, because the Bears, I know obviously they had the 3 picks against us and that. They're not an all-pro defense. They're not that good. We should be able to make some of our plays against them. This is what we need. We need to start getting Goff the momentum back, because you say in a month's time, we're really in a crunch time where we might be heading into, we should be heading into the playoffs and a wild card round playing against probably what's going to be the 6th seed, because we're probably going to be the 3 seed at this point. We need this momentum because as soon as you get in the playoffs, it's one and done. You need all the momentum you can get. You can't afford risky turnovers, offense stalling outs, to have Goff sort of get back on that track after the sort of dip of the past couple of weeks, start getting back on track. So the Goff we saw 3-4 weeks ago, who, as you say, pretty much everyone could agree deserved an extension. That's the kind of Goff we need late December, January. And it's good to see slowly but surely getting back to that.
Next one I have, and maybe it feeds into the cigars we're going to come to after this, but just young guys stepping up once again for the Lions on both offense and defense. You have a look at the players of the game, and Sam Laporta is obviously the one that jumps off the page. Rookie tight end, 9 catches on 9 targets for over 100 yards. Can't win the game without him. Otherwise, Saul obviously had a good game too. He's still a young man. J-Mo had a really good day. Amon-Ra had one of his worst days in some time, and he's still got a touchdown. Gibbs had a really good day too. On the defense, there was... Aleem still hasn't been paid yet. He's still on a rookie deal. Pascal was fantastic. Jack Campbell had his best game as a pro.
Barnes was
Kirby
good
had
as well.
a reasonable day. Barnes had a really good day. I don't care what the PFF grades say on that regard. He was the second lowest graded defensive player, but I thought he did really well. Kaminsky saved a touchdown, but was the lowest graded player on defense. Brian Branch had a pick and had a really good tip that ended up being a good play for the Saints, but it was a fantastic play on the ball. I thought he was good in coverage. I thought Jacobs got burned on a couple of plays, but I thought he had a really good couple of plays in run defense especially. He came up and aggressively attacked Alvin Kamara, which we thought was going to be one of the difficulties in this game for us. I thought Rodrigo was fine on defense. I didn't think he was amazing, but I thought he was pretty good. For all of the players that stepped up, Ash, I mean, Hutchinson as well. I mean, how do you forget that guy? The Lions have rookies and guys on rookie contracts stepping up in abundance.
Yep, and that's what good teams have, because that's what you need to be a really good team in the league these days, is really good talent on cheap deals. And that's what we have right now. I know obviously in the next couple of years we're going to pay Amara, we're going to pay Saul, they're going to start getting expensive. But obviously, we've shown the past 3 years we can draft this talent, we'll be able to recycle. And that's what we need to be a consistent good team. It's what the Ravens have done for donkey's years. It's what the 49ers have done for the past couple of years. It's what the Eagles have done for the past couple of years. It's what the Bengals have realized. I'm going to include the Bengals because they've obviously done it with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, some of the players on defense. It's what they do. These sort of perennial playoff contending teams that start the season, they're usually the ones you're penciling in for the playoffs. Most of the time, they're really good drafters because they're able to get and they're usually good at the end of the drafts as well. Like that, and that's how obviously our pride and joy is getting these day 3 players who step in and make and contribute in their first years. That's what we need to be good going forward. It's really good to see it starting coming to shape. Like all the key players in this team, aside from Goff, rookie contract guys, it's really good to see.
Right, it's time to hand out the cigars. Ash, I'm going to hand it over to you because I know low-key you've been absolutely frothing at the mouth at having all of your players taken from you. I'm going to give you the first overall pick here. Let's choose a few and not be shy about this.
Well, it's the guy I mentioned yesterday, and it's the guy who makes plays on defense and special teams, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Like, I know some members of the panel, when we re-signed him in the off-season, after him going getting the payday in Houston, sort of flopping there, were like a bit, I don't know why he's been signed. Is it just for the special teams? That's why. Like, he is our second best coverage linebacker. I know he didn't technically register anything on PFF for coverage, despite the pass breakup against Alvin Kamara. Oh, he did. He did. I'm misreading it. Sorry, I'm looking at Aleem. I'm like a dum-dum.
He doesn't have a PBU per PFF. Yeah, you're right.
I knew I was misreading it. I don't know how PFF sometimes mystify me, but he made plays in coverage using athleticism and quick twitch reactions, which help him on special teams. He used it. This is why Anzalone was such a good blitzer in coverage, because he might be not be the quickest guy in terms of 4.3 speed, but in terms of the sort of quick snap with judgments and that he's able to do, it helped him so much today. Special teams, he recorded the most special teams tackles for a player in one half for a Lions. I think it's either this season or in NFL, like Lions history. That's mad. And then still made plays on defense. That's why we signed him, and I'm so glad we did.
76.9 grade for Jalen Reeves-Maybin on defense. He had 20 snaps total, 12 in coverage, and he was our second highest graded player in coverage. Also had a pressure and a quarterback hit, as well as 2 assisted tackles on defense. He was all over the field, and a really big reason why the Lions got off to a hot start. My guy is going to be first pick is Jack Campbell. I said just now that it was his best game as a pro. I haven't actually verified that by looking at all of the stats. In fact, it was
earlier.
So he had a 74.4 grade yesterday. He had a 74.4 grade against Green Bay. So back-to-back, similarly graded games. So that is really impressive by him. He is elevating his grade. He had some really difficult assignments early on in the season against Carolina and against Baltimore, he really didn't have good days, and people were saying, what are we doing here? What's going on with him? This is not what we expected from our rookie first rounder. Didn't have a good day against Chicago just 2 games ago, and then stacks great games together. And it comes with Anzalone being out. With Anzalone being out, Campbell needed to have a good day for us to have a chance of winning this game. And he was all over the place, especially in the first half. He was the guy first to the ball most of the time. You can really see the difference between Jack playing the mic and not. So, as much as I thought Anzalone was one of the best linebackers in the NFL this year, it is refreshing given the opportunity to see Jack stack a good day on another good day. Ash, another guy for you, perhaps?
Josh Pascal. Again, didn't grade out too well by PFF, 72.4. But 72.4 tackling grade, 69, nice. Run defense grade, 65.5 pass rush grade. He is, as I said earlier, he's starting to show that potential of why we drafted him in the second round last year. I know obviously he was a bit unheralded, and even I posed Eric a question on Twitter when we drafted him. Could he put on 10, 15 pounds and move inside permanently? And Eric was like, no, you're losing that quick twitch first step that really helps in pass rush and run defend. We're starting to see that happen now. Last year, got hindered by injuries, obviously sports hernia, and I think it was an ankle injury. Now he's starting to get consistent snaps, and he's had that first proper off-season of training. He's starting to bear fruits now, and I'm just so happy to see it for him.
My second guy, I'm really struggling with who to pick. Let's take the low-hanging fruit and say Sam Laporta. I didn't list him actually to Ash as one of my guys earlier on today, just because I don't like taking the obvious guy. But what a season he is having for himself. It goes without saying it was his highest graded game. His first 90 grade of his career. His highest games otherwise, 80.1 against Atlanta in week 3, 79.3 against Seattle in week 2. So it's been some time since he's had a high 70s grade, never mind into the 90s. Overall grade for the season, 74.7 now. He is not far away from being on course for the NFL record for receiving yards for a tight end. He is going to break, as long as he stays healthy, the number of receptions record. You cannot overstate how much of a big impact he's made, and given what we traded last season and how high we picked him, 3rd pick in the second round, very high, and he was tight end 4 consensus, and he's been an absolute revelation, and long may that continue. He's got terrifically safe hands. In fact, what we saw from him yesterday was what we all heard he was doing in pre-season that we really hadn't seen. It wasn't that he was inconsistent. It wasn't that he was showing bad hands. He's been fantastic all the way through the year. But what we heard in pre-season was that he wasn't dropping a pass, that he looked like a seasoned pro, that he was going to be a really big problem for people. And he's been a factor, but he hasn't been game-breaking until now. And this is just what he can do. With Amon-Ra and him, everyone's in trouble in the NFL.
Yep. And I've seen the stat earlier. I can't remember, but it's roughly 51 yards a game he needs now to break Mike Ditka's record for rookie receiving for a tight end. That's doable. That's really doable. And I'm just saying that as a Sam Laporta fantasy owner, TM. Love it. But he has just been so good. I think it was in the locker room yesterday, Goff was saying about it. It's like he has not been like a rookie to him. He has been like a seasoned vet. And it's not anybody said it's not the first time. So obviously he's having that sort of Amon-Ra level connection where they just one day just get onto the same page. It just clicks. That's what's happening now. And it's so good for us because, as we saw this week, Saints focused on Amon-Ra. He got a lot of targets, didn't catch that much because they were blanket coveraging him. So what do? Now we have another consistent option over the middle who can do stuff for us. So we just go to him. And he stepped up to the plate like we needed him to. So, hell, I might echo what some of the guys in the POD said. If he gets all pro votes at tight end this year, I would not be surprised. Not just Pro Bowl, all pro. He's been that damn good this season for me.
Yeah, no argument from me. Why don't you do one more? I'm having fun with this.
See, I will preface, I was going to do the meme answer of saying Jake McQuaid with his elite, well, his near elite pass PFF special teams grade, which I've worked out why it's because he made a tackle on one of the punt returns. So that probably really helped him. Instead, I'm going to go for someone who, especially, I don't want to call that the DLP, but they have kind of been lower on him, rightfully, because they were pointing out Jerry had a higher grade than him so far this season. But Cam Sutton had a really damn good game yesterday. Like, obviously, I'm going to quote the PFF grade again, 74.1, 72 coverage grade. In coverage, he allowed, so he had 2 targets, no receptions, and a PBU for a 39.6 NFL passer rater allowed. This is kind of the guy when we signed into this free agency contract, this is the kind of guy we were looking for. This is what we signed him to be. And he's finally showing it again because obviously he had that really good game against the Bucks. Since then, it's kind of been inconsistent at best. It's nice to see him sort of get back to where he was earlier this season, sort of being that guy that you didn't really notice because he was doing his job that well, rather than you didn't really notice him because he's way off the picture with the person he's supposed to be covering. So it was really nice to see him step up.
Just to say with Sam Laporta in the All-Pro votes, he's 6th in qualifying tight ends with PFF grade at the moment. He is 3rd in the NFC, behind George Kittle at 1 and TJ Hawkinson at 4. Actually, sorry, no, there is another NFC tight end ahead of Sam Laporta. Do you want to try and guess who that is?
Jonnu Smith.
No.
Is it sort of Cole Kmet?
No.
Oh, God.
From an unfancied team, a player that I believe you liked quite a bit in the draft cycle last year.
Jake Ferguson.
No. He's 9th. He's not far away.
Is it Dallas, though? Is it Dallas? Is
No.
it Dallas Titan?
No, NFC West.
Trey McBride. Yeah, of course it.
Yep.
Of course it is because he had that massive game yesterday. I did like Trey. Oh, Trey.
Yeah, I knew you liked him.
Now you're making me remember all my tight end draft crushes from last year, and I feel sad.
All right, my last pick for a cigar. Can it be anyone else? It has to be. It has to be Romeo. Romeo had 9 snaps on defense. He had himself 2 pressures, a sack, and a hurry. He also had a run stop. Now, it's only 9 reps. He got himself a 90.2 grade, but when you get 2 pressures on those 9 reps, you're going to score pretty highly. But if I have a look at what he's done so far this season, he's got 10 pressures on 93 pass rush snaps. 1 in every 9. Like, considering that we've been struggling for pass rush, that's passable. It is almost as many reps as he's taken throughout the last 2 seasons. He had 119 last year in an injury hit year and 188 the season before in an injury hit year. The season before that in 2020, he had 10 sacks and 61 total pressures. His grade was 68.8. His defense grade is 77.6. He is playing, according to PFF, significantly better than when we had a 61 pressure player with 10 sacks. And in a we are struggling big time for someone alongside Aiden Hutchinson to bookend things, to create pressure. Now, Harris has been okay, but not great. Kaminsky has filled in, I think, well, although people don't talk about him, and actually he has gone off the boil a little bit. It's time to give Romeo more reps. It's time to give him a lot more reps. He keeps delivering. And, the thing about him is that he never has a bad game. When you put him out there, he's not any sort of liability. He hasn't had a grade below 55 all year. And for a peripheral player, that's really good. So, you found your answer at defensive end, at least for now. when free agency and draft are away. You've got your answer in front of you. Use it. Right. Yep.
Obviously, Dan's at the podium. He has dropped some Frank Ragnar news, and I've got an exact quote. I feel more than anything we've got good news, but that doesn't mean he will be available this week.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I was just praying it wasn't a season ender, because Frank got rolled up on by Jonah Jackson. It looked like one of those that could have twisted the knee somewhat, could have been an ACL. That was what everyone was fearing. So if it's not that, then that is absolutely fantastic news. Fingers crossed for that. Right. We are going to talk about the rest of Sunday's games, and we are going to get to our questions from our live audience at the end of this show, and we are going to wrap this up now. So if you want extra time with me and Ash and the rest of the Raw Lions gang, you need to check us out live on YouTube and Twitch. We try to keep to regular hours, normally 2:30 Eastern Time on Monday and Thursday. If we've got some scheduling conflicts, we will let you know, hopefully well in advance, so you can see our schedule always on YouTube, as we try to put the exact times and keep to them when they're up there. So check that out, and you will get some extra time with us. Next episode, I've put the wrong things, which is not ideal. Our preview show is going to be Friday this week. Bears preview show Friday this week, and the college football podcast coming later on this week. The championship games review, college football playoff reaction, bowl game previews, maybe some mock drafts, other bits and pieces to look out for. So please do that. Ash, do you have some news there? Because you were celebrating somewhat.
Anzalone might be back this week. So that's good fucking news.
Hallelujah. Right, you can follow us on our socials on Raw the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. If you are a member of that group already, I'm sure you will have seen that our very own Ryan Farden went out to New Orleans for the game. There were some fantastic videos on there. Come and join the group. It's just another Facebook group, but actually it's got some really great personalities on there. Website, rawthelionsuk.com or rotluk.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, all those small bits that you can do to really help us out. For Ash, I'm Matthew Turner, and the Lions are 9-3. That is second in the NFL. Long may that continue. Let's go, Lions. One Pride.
One Pride, and fuck the college playoff committee.
Recording stopped.
Right then. We have some questions, and then I'll talk about the rest of Sunday's games. So, Frank Ribble on YouTube says, have you watched any film lately of JMO's Deep Roots routes? I was wondering if JMO has been open and Goff has been throwing elsewhere. Did anyone go to the game and want to answer? So obviously we didn't go to the game. But it has been a bit of a recurring theme that JMO has been doing reasonably well in route running, and Goff is just not trusting him very much yet. He's got other more trusted receivers, I think, and JMO's doing his bit, but it's going to take a while, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, he hasn't been doing as many deep routes as that much recently. It's been more of the sort of crossing routes and stuff, which I'm all there for. But at the same time, the deep speed's there. You need to utilize it. So we do need to start putting him back on the food. I'm not saying go back to just all 9 balls and posts and that, but mix them in, make it so they have to respect it and sort of contain the top, because then that helps you stretch, obviously, the safeties back, the linebackers are then, they've got a bit more to cover. It makes everything easier to just mix in these deep routes that we had early in the season that maybe Goff wasn't connecting on, in with the crossing stuff and obviously these end arounds and stuff, and we might be getting close to fully utilising JMO in the best way possible and maybe helping earn Goff's trust to then be an elite weapon going forward.
Brent DeWitt says, I know Colby Sawsdale had a bad game, but I think all of these trials by fire at different positions is accelerating his learning curve. It should benefit us more next year. Ash's take, ?
Respectfully disagree with him learning multiple positions will help him. It's a similar position to what's happened with Jack Campbell, where 1 week we've been playing in middle linebacker, the next spin at the wheel, next spin line up on the line. Hopefully, if I don't want to say to make a sort of silver lining out Frank's injury, having Sawsdell just solidified at that right guard spot and just getting him reps there will help him, because that's the best possible way to help him, is to sort of get him those reps at one position, help him learn that. And then next off season, when he's fully got right guard down, then maybe you can start adding left guard and center him, because right now you've got to help him build that muscle memory, because if he's going from right guard to left guard, he won't be able to build that sort of reflex memory with the muscles to pass block properly, because it all is about just setting properly. That's what we've seen with Saul, where he was having those issues early in his career where he was practicing at right tackle. Decker gets his injury, he has to go over to left tackle, then he has to go back to right tackle. It really does affect offensive linemen. I think I can't remember his name. The brother, the former Chiefs left tackle, Jeff Swartz. Remember when we drafted Penne and he was like, oh yeah, it's not going to help in muscle memory. He was on the POD cast, I think. It's something like that where it's just not helping source. So help him solidify one position, build from there. It's the same with Campbell. Stick him at Mike for now. Help him learn that. Then you can start branching out. It's what we've been doing with Houston as well. Deep designated pass rusher. When he gets that down, start adding run defense and coverage on. It's the best way to build up players in the NFL, in my opinion, instead of just stick him here, there, and everywhere, because it's too much for them all too soon.
Yeah, I do think that giving him reps is definitely helping him, but I do agree that in different positions is tough. I mean, the thing about an offensive lineman in the NFL, if you make the main roster, you have to be able to play multiple positions. So it is necessary for him to do this, but I don't necessarily think it helps his development in of itself. But I don't know. Part of me does think that needing to learn on the fly playing different positions means that maybe he is more versatile in terms of just dealing with adversity, because I'm not sure he will be a starter next year. I do not think he will be. I just think he's too far away. Well, then he's going to need to cover 2 guard spots. I don't see us... If we re-sign Jackson, I think Colby is the backup guard. If we don't re-sign Jackson, I think we possibly draft someone. So in either circumstance, I'm not sure that he's the starter.
Yeah.
So he has to be able to play both spots. So playing both spots, I guess, is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it's tough for a rookie. It will be. Mike the Marine says, question for the end: how many missed tackles did we have in the game, Ash?
5. 1 by Tracy, 1 by Kirby, 1 by Branch, 1 by Jerry, 1 by Benito, for a total of 5, which roughly works out at, I'm trying to work out in my head now, 43. So it's about a 4. So it's about a 10% missed tackle rate, which isn't the best, but we've had worse.
We've had a lot worse. 10% is fine. You can,
exactly, yeah.
You can live with that. All right, next one, also from Mike. How many explosive pass/run plays do we have so far, and how many have we given up? Any ideas?
I'm trying to look it up now.
I actually have no idea how to find this.
That can't be right. Yeah, I can't find it either. I know there's someone on Twitter that probably has the graphic, but it hasn't come out yet. I believe we are still in the top 5 though for explosive plays created. I don't know where we are on defense.
I mean, so big time throws, we have 16 on the year versus 12 turnover worthy plays.
Yeah.
In terms of receiving, let's see if there's something in the key here which is going to help.
I think explosive plays is, yes, it's runs of 10 plus yards and passes of 20 plus.
Yeah, I don't really have anything like that, unfortunately. I've just seen Sam Laporta on the year, 75% on contested catches.
Or
It's pretty nice.
oh, here we go. Hang on. So I've got big play. So I've got passing at least. We are 11th in terms of big play passes with 25. The leaders are the Texans with 37. That's quite interesting.
It almost doesn't surprise me.
True. That's passing. I wonder. I'm looking. Big rushes. There we go. And then for big rushes, when this stat website decides to load. As I see, you've just seen there, Lee McNeil news in Discord. Yeah. We are also 11th in terms of big runs, explosive runs in the year with 39. The leaders, predictably, are the Bears with 51. But that's pretty much all I can find, unless I can find a way of looking at defense. Yeah, this website won't tell me on defense.
Yeah, don't worry about it too much. Let's move on to the next.
If I get time this week, I will sit down and probably calculate it and have an answer for the preview show.
That's far too much work. Last question? No, second to last question. Big Area says, so mock draft needs best cornerback / defensive tackle. Someone today from NBC Chicago saying that we would take an offensive tackle. Lol. There was no question there, but what do you think are our biggest needs in the draft at the moment?
CB1, pass rusher opposite Aiden, X receiver. I have some faith in DPJ. I don't know if he's fully that. Let's get Goffey, Keon Coleman, Roma Dunze to throw to.
I can see us drafting a tackle in the late first round if that's where we end up. So in terms of the draft depth at the moment, as far as I understand it, it is one of the deepest wide receiver and tackle drafts in recent memory. I think from listening to Locked On NFL Scouting, they've graded so far in terms of what's the metric? I think it's just day 1 or day 2 graded players. I think he had something like 18 wide receivers. And I think he said that there were like 9 or 10 first round talent tackles in this draft. So if you're going to take a tackle, this might be the year, just because you might get a talent that you're not expecting. If they can kick inside to guard for a year before kicking out to tackle, as Taylor maybe retires after his deal, I would like to re-sign him. Won't be offended if he doesn't. It's one of those things. I would be looking out for it. But the way that I see the mock drafts going at the moment, there seems to be the top or second best DT available at that spot, or the second or third best cornerback. It's not a good cornerback draft. We'll see what happens. People are calling on Kool-Aid McKinstry at the moment. He seems to be falling to that sort of range. Not sure at the moment. Defensive tackle tends to be taken later in drafts. Third round seems to be the sort of top of the second pile of them pretty much always. Edge is somewhere that I actually would shy away from at the end of the first round. I don't see many good edge rushers in this draft, to be honest. So I would move away from that. I know that we need someone opposite Hutch, but we just have other needs as well that are potentially going to be better players at that draft position if we do draft between 28 and 30. So that's my feeling on it at the moment. The Gomness has a question saying, do you think, guys, that the Lions will pick up one of those I want to compete for a ring free agents that might still be available?
I honestly don't know, because it don't fit with the team culture of sort of, you come here to work, you have to work for it. But at the same time, I know it's something we brought up in the off season. If a Sue says, yes, I'll be happy to sign with you for a relatively cheapish deal to sort of give us that spice we need in interior defensive line. I also wouldn't say no. So it really depends on obviously if they think he fits the culture and if it's someone that will put us over the top. So having Asu in that defensive line room will give us a lot more push up front, might make things easier on the back end for the corners. So I'd be for that. But sometimes some of the ones that are sitting around waiting, I'd pass on. It really depends on the fit for me.
Mike also says, would you look at centre as well? I mean, in day 3 maybe for me, but I'm not.
Sincere, yes, it's the one I'm really looking at, and it's someone Ant mentioned the officer the preseason. Sincere Hainsworth, he's a really good centre. He's probably late day 2, early day 3 right now on boards, I think.
Joshua Mercer also says, I would take McMillan too, since I believe we will draft other positions higher if base off need alone. I actually just don't know who McMillan is at the moment.
Jalen McMillan, I think, which is the Washington wide receiver. I prefer a Dunze, but Dunze's probably gone by then, so maybe.
I don't know. I've seen a Dunze fall to that sort of realm in drafts.
I think Keon's fallen a bit. I think a Dunze I've seen around like between 10 and 15. He's a wide receiver too right now in this draft, behind MHJ. God help us if the Bears get him.
Yeah, right. Final question is by Brent DeWitt. Thanks for the question, Brent. Says, Matthew, before the season started, one of your picks, and how are you as good at taking receipts as Ash? I'm not sure, but before the season started, one of your picks for overachieving team was Atlanta. One of mine was the LA Rams. Who will finish better? I think very clearly it's going to be the LA Rams. They are on a trajectory. Their offense is humming. Stafford's playing amazingly well. They are doing what they're doing without their best wide receiver playing anywhere near his best. If Cooper Kupp actually gets himself healthy for the playoffs, because they're going, then they're going to be an interesting team. They are one of the teams I would like to avoid the most when it comes to the playoffs, because I really think they could get there. Atlanta have an easy stretch. So maybe that's the difference, is the Rams don't quite have an easy of a stretch. Atlanta, I'm pretty sure, will be the 4 seed after we beat the Saints. You know, Atlanta just have the lead at the moment. But, I don't know. Austin Damon says, do you think Verse is there at the end of the first? If he is, I'm taking him, and I do think he could fall that far.
I don't. This past 2 games against Florida and then on Saturday against Louisville, that dude turned the fuck on. Like, you saw why he was top 10 pick last season.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's probably going to the Senior Bowl as well.
Yeah.
So he's going to show out, and he's going to show out the combine. He's going top 20. We're unfortunately not going to get to him. As much as it breaks my heart, Verse, so long as you don't go to the Packers or the Vikings or the Bears, I'm happy. Go ball out, my son.
Yeah. Mike the Marine just said, brilliant show. Thanks, Mike. And the Gondola says, I'm betting they grab the best player on their board that slips down the draft like a Brian Branch. That is what they do.
Yes.
That is their MO. It's what they do. And if it means taking a player in a position we already have, they'll do it anyway. So it will be, as always, a really exciting and interesting draft to take a look at. And of course, the College Football Podcast, now the college football season is coming to an end, is going to take a look at the draft in greater detail in the next few months in the run-up to the draft in Detroit. Me and Ash are certainly going to be there. We've bought our flights. We're ready to go. We're ready to meet as many of you as want to come down and have a drink with us during the week of the draft. We're getting to Detroit on Monday. We'll be there until the following Sunday night, Monday morning. So if you want to say hi, leave us a message. We'll do something, I'm sure. We're going to end this here. We'll see you for the College Football Show later on in the week. And then the Bears preview on Friday evening UK time. Friday. I mean, it depends on whether we get some guests. We might change the time, but we will see you for sure on Friday. Ash, good to see you again, mate. See you later in the week.
Yep.
Cheers, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.